And distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, next it is with the greatest honor and pleasure that I shall invite on stage the Federal Minister for Education. Please welcome Chairman Shafqat Mahmood. Please give him the biggest round of applause.
Well, there's Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think there has been a bit of a confusion. I thought that we are going to have a discussion and then I'm going to sum up the discussion, but it seems that I have to speak before the discussion starts on the discussion, so I'll try and do my best. Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a pleasure to be here, and let me begin by thanking Asfar for organizing this absolutely fantastic conference. I think I can, without exaggeration, say that Asfar is the best organizer of events that Pakistan has ever seen. I've seen him organize something for 150 people in 12 hours, so that's quite a unique talent. And also it's so important that this conference is taking place because we are looking at the future, we are looking at what kind of things are going to happen in the fields of health, education, and innovation and other things. So therefore, from many angles, this is an extremely important conference. And I'm so happy that there are so many delegates that have come from abroad. One, that we are going to interact with them and learn from them. And also that this demonstrates forcefully the fact that Pakistan is a country going forward. It's a peaceful country. Like any other country, we have our difficulties and problems, but we are moving forward, and inshallah, we will achieve the potential of this nation as we go forward. The topic that I was given originally was something different, and then I looked at the brochure and it seemed to be something different. I'd earlier been told that you talk about the future of education, but I see that the topic today is demand-driven. So let me sort of start from here and then very briefly talk about education. The other day in Islamabad, some 6 months ago, there was a demonstration. And those who are from abroad, demonstrations, we are a democratic society, so demonstrations happen in Pakistan. That's not an unusual phenomenon. People rise up for their rights and they have every right to do so. But this particular demonstration was unique in this way, that these were 600 people with PhDs demonstrating that they don't have a job. So here were these people with doctors of philosophy in various subjects, and they were out on the streets saying that we don't have a job. So how disconnected our education system can be from the realities of the workplace, that you have people who have done masters and who have done, in this case, PhDs, and they don't have a job. So therefore, I'm a strong believer in the fact that education for the sake of education is an excellent thing. It sort of makes you grow as a person, and it's a wonderful thing. But what's the use of having an education and being a wonderful person if you can't feed yourself? So, or your family. So that creates a problem. So therefore, there are two very serious aspects in higher education that we are trying to emphasize. And one of them is obviously the quality of education, because there's no point in having certificates and degrees and so on and so forth when the learning levels are very, very poor. And in some cases, we all know that just by having a degree is not enough. There are serious problems with learning levels. But the second part of what we are trying to achieve is that education must be relevant. Education must relate to the reality around you. So while you are trying to improve the quality of education per se, in all fields, it's very important that you focus on relevance. And that is what we are trying to do. And how do you create relevance? I mean, one would imagine that those parents and those people who are sending their children to our young men, young women to college and university and paying for it, would intuitively understand what is good for them. But sometimes it doesn't happen like that. One of the things that we've been going through, and I hope it changes over a period of time, that we've been going for degrees because it's the prestige thing to do. It's prestigious to be a master's degree holder. It's a prestigious thing to be a PhD. So the decision to pursue higher education is not being made on the question of relevance. I'm not saying it is not entirely being made, but there are other factors that are coming in. Factors that don't have any connection with the workplace. So therefore, the evolution has to take place where there is a very strong eye and people should intuitively decide that we must pursue education which is relevant to the workforce. But on our level, at the government level, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to interact with industry. We are trying to work with chambers of commerce and others. We are trying to get a sense of what is required. And once we get a sense of what is required, we are trying to craft our courses and our higher education degrees accordingly. In fact, I may just briefly mention that on quality, what we have taken a fundamental decision, a decision that had been being postponed for a long time, which is that we have now enforced a 4-year bachelor's degree program. In other words, that you would have 16 years of, you cannot have a bachelor's degree unless and until you have 16 years of education. Now that's a quality thing, because we must have our graduates, and as everybody over here who's from Pakistan knows, that over a period of time, the bachelor's degree lost its relevance. So we are going to create a degree, bachelor's degree, which hopefully for most people will become a terminal degree. But on the other hand, it's also important that the courses and we should craft it in such a way that it has relevance to the workplace. And when we are looking at relevance to the workplace, we have to also see that what is required today and what is going to come tomorrow. That we have to look forward. We have to look at the next 10 years, next 20 years, and see what is required. And therefore, there has been a serious attention being given to things like artificial intelligence and robotics and so on and so forth. Things that are, because clearly, as we all know, that many of the old jobs are dying. Many of the ways that, because technology is taking over, and as technology is taking over, many of the old jobs are no longer relevant. And therefore, but many new jobs are being created. Whereas automation has made redundant a lot of people, robotics have made redundant a lot of people, but new kinds of opportunities are rising. New kinds of jobs are required. So what we have to understand and analyze very carefully is what is dying out and what is coming in the future. And when you analyze what is dying out and what's coming in the future, then you start crafting your courses and other things accordingly. Some of the other things that we are trying to do, we have an organization called the National Vocational Training Council. Through the National Vocational Training Council, we are doing a number of things. But what I want to emphasize is that we want to start early by giving careers, training and skills to people at an early age. So therefore, we are starting a program this year. Hopefully, we will start in about 200 to 300 schools, which is an M-Tech, we call it, Metric Tech program. The idea is that while the students are going into the senior classes, 8, 9, 10, 11, they should also have an opportunity to develop some skills. If not everybody will pursue higher education, and not everybody should pursue higher education. Higher education has many aspects, but I don't think everybody, there is a constitutional obligation for everybody from the age of 5 to 16 to be taught. That is the state's responsibility. Article 25A of our Constitution says that it's the responsibility of the state to give education to children from age 5 to 16. But after that, it's a choice. And therefore, what we are trying to do is we are trying to introduce the metric tech programs. What the metric tech program is, that they will be given the area and given the requirements in that area. We are going to try and introduce those vocations where you are able to get a certain amount of training and certain amount of abilities so that once you graduate, you are able to go and get a job. Also, okay, thank you. Also, there is another thing that which is related to this, which we are beginning to do, which is very, very important. And many people from industry are here today, so I think this would be of interest to people who are from industry. It is very important to have, for all trades, certain levels of standards. If you get a computer person, for example, with level 1, you should know that this is just data entry operation. But if somebody comes to you with level 4, you should have the confidence that this person coming with level 4 certification has certain kind of programming skills also, for example. So therefore, one of the things that we are trying to do is, for a number of different trades, we are trying to work standards. We are trying to work levels, and we are trying to work standard. So while this is, in a sense, and this is a very strong demand from the industry. Why? Because you want to, when you hire somebody, you want to be confident that the person that you're hiring, who's claiming to have certain skills, those skills are actually there in that person. So that's one thing that we are trying to do. And recently we completed various level 1 to 5 of 25 trades, and this progress is something that we are emphasizing, and this is something that we are going to go on. The second very important aspect of this, again, demand-driven education aspect of it is, we must have certification which is reliable. It is one thing to give standards, develop standards and give education, but it's another thing that the person who presents to you a certain kind of certification, you have certain confidence that this certification is actually genuine. And that person actually has the skills that this certification says. So therefore, what we are trying to do is we are going to accredit institutions. The federal government, under the National Vocational Training Council, is going to accredit institutions who will be allowed to issue certification. Not every certification will be accredited. Not every certification will be accepted. And therefore, we hope that over the next year or two, the stamp of federal government on a certification will become the gold standard for all certification in Pakistan. So therefore, when somebody comes to you with a certain certificate which has the appropriate stamps, you will be confident that this is a person who has been trained and has the right standards and the right certification. But not only, we don't want to stop just here. We are also creating linkages internationally. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, the New Zealand ambassador was here, and we signed an agreement with New Zealand that national vocational quality standards that we are adopting will be done in collaboration with the government of New Zealand, so that our qualifications are accepted in New Zealand. We are also working with the city and guilds and other international bodies so that our certification is accepted not only in Pakistan, but is accepted. So at the federal level, we don't run institutions that many. We just have one institution that we are running vocational training. But what we hope to do is to become the gold standard for certification, develop international linkages, create standards so that our workforce is appropriately trained and everybody can have confidence that our workforce is trained in that way. Very briefly, I don't know how much time I have, but very How much time do I have?
Because next you'll be joining for the panel discussion.
So I'm done?
Yes.
Just 1 minute more.
Of course.
No, I just wanted to tell you that while we are looking at demand-driven education, it's very important that as far as our overall, what I'm using the word workforce, but what I mean is all the people, children who are going to school, who are going to be the workforce in the future, that we give them a level playing field, that everybody gets a chance, an equal chance. It's not easy, but we are trying to craft a single national curriculum, a national curriculum which would be taught to everybody, to people like me who have had the privilege of going to an so-called English medium school and a madrasa school. They'll all be studying the same thing. So finally, inshallah, in the next year or so, we'll be able to start moving towards a certain egalitarianism within the and I can speak for an hour on this, but I just wanted to mention it. So, Asfar, thank you very much again. It's been such a pleasure being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mahmood.